Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for tuning in to another exciting edition of WHHS Channel 96 Sports. I'm Tyler Camiotti.
And I'm Logan Repko.
And tonight we are bringing you tournament action as your Harvey Red Raiders will play the Lake Catholic Cougars in the first round of tournaments.
That's right. The Red Raiders have high hopes entering the tournament. They're hoping to go all the way to state, and this is the first step up the ladder for them.
It certainly is. Raiders looking to have a strong game tonight. The Raiders played the Cougars early in the season. I believe they're no later than their third game. It was their second game, and they were very successful. Beat them by over 20, so they're looking to have a repeat performance tonight.
That's right. At the time, they were both in the top of the crop, and it was one of the first steps, the first test of the season. Let's hope that it's going to be another early test for the Raiders. Hopefully they can overcome it and keep on going.
Right. One player that the Cougars have tonight that they didn't have in the first time these two teams competed, which could play a factor, is Brendan Bartell. He's one of their starters, and it's just going to be a matter of time to see whether or not he'll be able to, at least chip away at that 20 to 30 point deficit.
Yeah, that's right. A little bit of a different game, but still, Red Raiders, if they play their game, should come away with a victory.
That's right. The Raiders, they were able to play their game for most of the season. There were only a few times that they had to alter it, in the least bit. The one time that it really affected them was against Edgewood when they handed them their only loss of the season. The Raiders, of course, finished the season a phenomenal 19-1.
That's the best season in recent history for the Raiders, and since the game is about to get underway, why don't we take a look at our starting lineups?
How about it? For the Lake Catholic Cougars, who are the visiting team on the scoreboard tonight, we have number 1, Mike Staley, number 4, Brendan Bartell, number 12, Rick Stanzi, number 23, Steve Latkovic, and number 32, Mark Ursick.
And for your Harvey Red Raiders, we have number 32, Julian Mangano, number 21, Andrew Booth, number 20, Morgan Lewis, number 22, Scott Aston, and, of course, number 34, Chris Crawford. And
still, this exact same starting lineup that we've seen the entire season. They altered it in their final game of the season. That was this past Friday when they played Fairport, as it was senior night. So they gave the seniors the start and strayed a little bit from their regular lineup. They substituted in Carmody and Rogers for Mangano, Aston, and there was one other player that they substituted in for Crawford, I believe. Rowan. It was Rowan they substituted in. So, that's the only time that we've seen a lineup different than this one.
An excellent testament to both the health and the consistency that the Raiders have shown all season, being able to stay with the starting 5. Mick Rowan has said as much. He's the team captain, and he understands that, it's really important that this team is able to stay healthy as they have for the whole season.
Right.
Very deep team as well.
Exactly. Crawford is set to take the tip against Rick Stanzi, and as we were speaking about health, Crawford sat the last game of the season. You can see he's wearing a brace on his knee, and he had some problems with that. It was hurting him a little bit, so he sat out the final game against Fairport and just gave it some time to rest before we come into tournament play. As you see there, Crawford loses the ball out of bounds.
And getting in the game now, looks like the Raiders will be applying full court pressure. Who would expect anything less? They've played an upbeat tempo all season, and they're not going to change that now.
Bartell puts it up off the glass, follows his rebound, and Crawford hauls it in. Aston over to Mangano. Mangano fires for 3. Drano!
You see Mangano get hot at times. I don't know if that was just one shot or if he's going to be on fire, but it's always exciting when he goes on one of his tears.
It's a great way to start the game, and hopefully, as you said, Mangano can be very hot. I mean, nobody can really touch him some games. Let's hope that this is one of those games. It'll be a great way to start the tournament.
Out of bounds on the Cougars. On the Raiders. Cougar ball. Stop the clock at 7:06. Raiders on top 3-0.
Stanzi to inbound. Oh, I'm sorry, that was Steve Latkovic. Now Mike Staley with the ball up top, steps into the key, fires. Off back iron, no good. Lewis comes up with the ball. Passes down to Booth. And Aston now has the ball up top. Aston pulls up from inside. Flat shot. Comes up no good.
So Raiders coming on a little tentative. As you can see right there, not where they're supposed to be in every play. They're looking a little bit unsure.
Yeah.
And I don't know if a timeout was. Oh, official timeout was just signaled as someone. Looks like Andrew
Booth is. Looks like he's hurt down on the other end of the floor.
Time is stopped at 6:34. It's 3-2 in favor of the Raiders. Coach Starkey coming on, as well as the Lake Catholic coach, to make sure that everything's okay.
Actually, that's our trainer.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, that is our trainer. It did look like a Lake Catholic because he's wearing
right. He's
colors.
wearing the green.
Anyway, Jeff Spikes checks into the game. That's number 54. Jeff Spikes.
Doesn't look like anything too serious for Booth, so I expect that we'll see him back very shortly.
Yeah.
Aston facing Staley, swings it over to Mangano on the wing. Into Spikes. Spikes into the paint, up off the glass and in.
So Spikes comes in and makes an immediate impact. 5-2 now, 6:18 to play in the first quarter.
Staley looking to cross up Aston. And that's Bartel. Out to Stanzi. Stanzi from the paint, no good. Pass out to Staley. Bartel from the wing. Off the front of the rim, no good. And Crawford trying to fight for the rebound. Loses the ball out of bounds. Cougars will inbound from underneath the basket.
So the Raiders have a 5-2 advantage with 5:52 to go in the first quarter. They're letting a little more penetration on defense than they usually do, though. It might be something to look at further on in the game, but so far it hasn't hurt them.
Yeah. Well, one thing that we're seeing out of the Cougars right now is they're really making some bit of a dent on our defensive rebounds. Our players are getting up there, but as soon as we bring the ball down, they're tipping the ball out of our hands. And, at least it's out of control for both teams, and that gives them some chance to recover.
Good putback right there by Chris Crawford. 7-2 now, 5:23 in the first quarter.
Staley swinging over, and I believe that's Stanzi. Yeah, Stanzi put the ball up, and that was number 32, Mark Ursick, shooting. Foul on the shot. No basket. He's shooting 2 from the charity stripe.
That is the first foul of this young game. It goes against Morgan Lewis.
Ursick's first, straight through.
And as I've said several times this season, you can't underestimate power of the free throw shooting. A lot of games the Raiders are in are so uneven that it doesn't even matter, but free throws are important, especially in these tournaments.
Ursick hits his second. Raiders up by 3, 7-4, 5:12 left in the first quarter. Aston swings it over to Lewis. Lewis loses the ball up top to Crawford. And just some wild passes from the Raiders right now. Lewis fired from deep, long. Staley chasing down the rebound. Taking it coast to coast from the paint. Off the front of the rim, no good. Hauled in by Lewis. Aston off to Crawford. And Crawford with the reverse, no good. And the ref's hitting Morgan Lewis with the technical on that.
And boos are just falling out of the ceiling right now. I don't understand that call.
Yeah, Lewis, he hung on the rim for just a second. It wasn't anything, taunting. It wasn't anything, it was nothing. He was up there going for the rebound, and the rebound wasn't there. Somehow wound up on the rim, I guess.
We've seen that go against Morgan Lewis before, though. I think refs are kind of on the look for that.
Yeah.
Morgan,
Staley.
Yeah.
Staley hits his first.
7-5 now. Stops the clock at 4:39. So Lewis has 2 fouls already. Not good for the Raiders.
And Staley's second is also good. So the Cougars within 1, 7-6, 4:39, and the Cougars will have possession after the technical.
The technical foul aside, the Raiders are looking very tentative this far in the first quarter. If the Cougars are upset-minded, Red Raiders are not doing anything to squelch that right now. They're certainly controlling the game still, but very tentative at this point.
Staley's shot from the paint, no good. He has his own rebound. Staley with the ball on the wing. Up top to Bartel. Bartel stepping inside from the paint. Up. No good. Rebounded by Spikes. Lewis has the ball just across half court, down on the wing. Mangano open for three, and he's got it.
7-6 now. 3:57 remains in the first quarter.
Mangano shooting 100% from three land. Aston with the ball in the wing, up top to Mangano, into Crawford. Crawford in the paint, spins up, good.
12-6 now as Chris Crawford establishes himself down low, and the Raiders maybe starting to establish themselves in this game.
And Ersic fires from deep. Rebounded by Spikes. Aston pushing. And Aston looking for Mangano, cutting baseline. Pass a little bit behind Mangano. Ball goes out of bounds. Cougars possession. Timeout called by the Raiders on the bench. So time is stopped with 3:19 left in the first quarter. Your Red Raiders on top by 6, 12-6.
And while we have a chance in this timeout, why don't we take a look at our sponsors?
First, we have Micro and Concrete,
Fisher Building and Interiors,
the Latin Corner,
Painesville Publishing,
Child Care on the Square. That was Kiter's Flooring, Palutro Insurance,
Scores Fun Center and Lasertron,
Silvestro's Depot Cafe. For great food, make it Silvestro's. Back in action, Spike's still on the floor. Booth came out with an injury, but now Booth is back in to replace Morgan Lewis. Lewis has 2 fouls, one of which was a technical, which was really just a style call pretty much for the ref.
And I guess he'll be taking a breather, though. You don't want to get him into foul trouble early.
No, definitely not. Not in a game like this, anytime in the postseason. And number 4, Brendan Bartel, calls a timeout from the floor.
Bartel looking like he took a little something in the eye right there. Scott Aston getting down on the floor. And all time is stopped at 2:58. It's 12-6 now in favor of your Raiders.
Julian Mangano leading the team in scoring currently. He's got 6 off of 2 3-pointers.
That's right. It's hard to beat a team that just has this many weapons. You know, Julian Mangano just out of coldness, bearing two threes.
Oh yeah, shooting 100% right now from the 3-point land. He's only shot 2, but both of them have fallen, so he still hasn't seen any time on the bench. On the floor for the Raiders, we have Aston, Mangano, Spikes, Crawford, and Booth. And for the Cougars, we have Latkovic, Staley, Stanzi, Ersic, and Bartel. Cougars will have possession. Latkovic to inbound from the sideline.
Chris DeDante will be checking in for Bartel, who looks like he might have got injured, or they're checking out his eye right now.
DeDante, the ball dribbling up top over to Staley. Ersic way over to Latkovic. DeDante dribbling inside. DeDante over to Staley, who pulls the trigger for 3. Good. So the Cougars not letting anything get out of hand.
Yeah, and the Raiders are getting off their feet an awful lot.
Yeah, they're just getting fooled by the pump fakes.
Yeah.
And Mangano's field goal no good. Spikes with the ball in the paint. Up, glass, in!
Good aggressive play right there, but a soft touch to finish it off. Nice play by Spikes. It's 14-9 now.
Staley stepping inside on Aston. And whistle blown. Foul called. They're ruling that Staley was shooting.
That is on number 22, Scott Aston.
His first of the night.
So questionable call right there. It almost was going out of bounds off Chris Crawford.
Mm-hmm.
So if it was foul, questionable. But
Staley misses his first. And checking in for the Cougars, number 3, Kevin Spittler, and number 30, Nick Spahar. DeDante back deep for the Cougars, and Staley hits his second.
And with 2 minutes to go, the Raiders are on top 14-10.
Aston dribbling up top over to Booth on the wing. Booth kicking it into Spikes. And foul called. A push on number 30, Nick Spahar.
So first team foul for the Cougars and first of the night for Spahar, obviously.
Aston swings the ball up top to Spikes. Spikes finds Booth open under the hole, who puts it up and in.
Pushes the lead back to 6 for your Raiders. It's 16-10, minute 40, and it remains in the first quarter.
Staley over to, that's number 12, Rick Stanzi. Mangano loses the ball, batted around, and Stanzi has the ball in bounds. DeDante from inside, no good. DeDante again with the ball, up top to Staley. Over to Stanzi. And finally Aston hauls down the rebound, and he holds on to it.
So minute 4 now, almost a minute possession by the Cougars. Red Raiders on top still 16-10.
You know, the Cougars picked us to play in the first round of this tournament, which really surprised a lot of people, but honestly, I'm surprised with the intensity that they're showing tonight.
That's right. Sometimes it looks like they don't really have control of the ball, but they're not stopping. They're not giving up. They just keep going after the ball. And, you know, they're looking really good right now.
DeDante with the ball facing Mangano over to Stanzi. Stanzi into the paint, up, and lays it in with the finger roll.
Still a 4-point deficit. A lot of games the Raiders are building a 10, 15-point lead at this point. Cougars looking very well. They're showing that they're not a team just to be disregarded.
Yeah, I think even in the last time these two teams played, the Raiders already had much more considerable advantage at this point in the game.
16-12 nonetheless. 10 seconds. Raiders looking for the last shot.
Aston with the ball facing Staley. Aston stumbles over to Mangano. Mangano fires from deep. No good. And Staley fires as the buzzer rings. Off glass, no shot. So at the end of the first quarter, your Harvey Red Raiders are on top by 4, 16-12.
So good showing by Lake Catholic, and the Raiders looking a little bit sloppy, a little bit unsure right now, but I think they're getting back in the rhythm of the game, and this is shaping up to be a very, very exciting and very close.
Definitely.
And while we have a chance, why don't we take a look at our sponsors?
First, we have Micro and Concrete.
Next is Fisher Building and Interiors.
Next, we have the Latin Corner.
Painesville Publishing.
Child Care on the Square.
Kiters Flooring and Construction.
Palutro Insurance.
Scores Fun Center and Lasertron.
And lastly, we have Silvestro's Depot Cafe. For great food, please make it Silvestro's. Great fan support tonight. For both teams, really. Both sides of the gymnasium packed. Got a great setup here at Madison. We've got not only the floor level bleachers, but also a mezzanine level.
And a big one at that.
Yeah, exactly.
Some schools have mezzanines, but as far as they go, this is one of the bigger ones that I've seen.
Yeah.
And both sides are nearly packed. I'd still say that the Raiders have more fans coming out tonight.
Yeah, that's pretty much been custom for the Raiders. You know, even for some of the away games, even the far ones, way out into Ashtabula and such, the Raiders have still had a better showing. Mangano no good on that shot. Puts it in bounds to the hands of Mike Staley. Staley taking it and dishes off to Stanzi, who puts it up and in off the glass.
2-point lead is all the Raiders have at this point, 16-14, 7 minutes and 23 seconds in the second quarter now.
Scott Aston over to Mangano. Mangano dishing into Booth. Booth spins up, in!
Nice fadeaway right there by Booth. Not a shot I've seen him take a lot during the season, but he pulls it out in 2 points.
Yep. That's how Booth put us on top for the second Riverside game last season. You know, a nice turnaround fadeaway jumper. So he's definitely capable of, but you're right, we don't see that too much out of him. Whistle blown. Foul called on Latkovic, I believe. Yeah, Steve Latkovic.
So that'll be the second of the half for the Cougars, and first for Latkovic on the night.
Lewis deep inbounds pass to Aston. Booth with the ball inside. Aston with the ball up top. Bartel all over Aston. Aston dishing off to Crawford. Crawford going up strong, no good. His own rebound, and there he puts it up and in.
I like to see Crawford play. He's always fighting. He's big. He's aggressive, and you need a couple of those guys on your team.
Oh yeah.
20-14 now. Stops the clock at 6:27, and a foul is called on Scott Aston. That's his second of the night. So both he and Morgan Lewis have 2, and 14 fouls, of course, for the Raiders in the half.
That foul occurred before play even started. What happened? I missed that.
A push.
Just push.
A little bit more contact than Russ wanted to see.
Gotcha. Stanzi over to Latkovic on the wing. And that's Staley who fires air ball. Aston with the ball up top. He's open. He fires. No good. Rebounded by 32 Ersic. Bartel. Ball deep on the wing. Up top to Latkovic. Stanzi dribbling on Crawford. Spins. Passes picked off by Booth.
Still 20-14, 5:38, and the Cougars came into this game with a lot of energy. Looks like just this last couple possessions they might have lost that a little bit. It could be interesting if they don't keep that up, but we'll look to see if they can continue to play at this high level they came in with.
You see right there, they took a steal and weren't able to capitalize. Julie Mangano with the rebound, dishes off to Aston. Aston over to Lewis in the corner.
At 5:09, it's still 20-14. Neither team has scored for more than a minute.
And Lewis puts it straight through.
That ends that drought. It's 23-14 now. Raiders have a 9-point lead. First points of the night for Morgan Lewis.
And the biggest lead of the night for the Raiders. Staley taking it to the hole. No good, into the hands of Lewis. Lewis pushing. Pass picked off by Staley. And a double dribble called. I knew something had to be going on right there. There was, some hesitation. I couldn't quite tell if it was a travel or a double dribble, but I knew something was going on.
I didn't see the ball hit the floor enough in too many steps. I didn't know what the call was, but something happened.
And a timeout is called, I believe, by the Cougars bench. So time is stopped. And your Red Raiders are on top by 9, 23-14.
And again, while we have a chance, why don't we take a look at our sponsors?
First, we have Micro and Concrete.
Fisher Building and Interiors.
The Latin Corner.
Painesville Publishing.
Child Care on the Square.
Kiters Flooring and Construction.
Palutro Insurance.
Scores Fun Center and Lasertron.
And Silvestro's Depot Cafe. For great food, make it Silvestro's.
And for the Red Raiders, Jeff Spikes and Mick Rowan will be checking in. 4:44 on the clock. Your Raiders have the biggest lead of the night so far, 23-14, 9-point lead.
Aston and Crawford getting a break. Lewis with the ball up top. Now Booth with the ball up top. Swings it way over to Lewis. Lewis with the ball on the wing. Fires from up top. No good. Into the hands of number 12, Rick Stanzi. But picked off. And Booth again with it. Now Mangano. And Mangano's fouled on the shot. He's going to the line to shoot too. So the Cougars nearly had possession there, but turned the ball over. And now the Raiders are at the line with one of our more reliable free throw shooters, if not the most reliable. I'm sure he and Lewis are up there for the top 2.
Yeah. Meanwhile, that foul is on Steve Blakovic. That's his second of the night. And Julian Mangano shoots as probably you'd expect him to. He makes his first shot. 24-14 now. 10-point lead for the Raiders and number 11.
Staley with the ball just across half court. Mangano playing nice defense. Keeping his feet moving, and it's going to allow him to stay with Staley. Staley's quick. He's even been giving Aston some problems. Nothing too serious, though. Bartel with the ball steps inside, dishes out to Stanzi. Stanzi's taking it into the paint. Up, glass, no good. Spikes with the rebound.
And they keep taking their shots at the hole. I really...
We are back. We apologize for that abrupt ending. We had a power outage here at Madison High School, and time is stopped with 3:47 left in the first half. Your Red Raiders are on top 25-14. I'm Tyler Camiotti.
And I'm Logan Repko. And just to reiterate, you have not missed any action.
No.
The lights have simply gone out, and we are resuming action just shortly here.
That's right. The power was out here for, at least 45 minutes to an hour, I'd say. So we were just sitting here in the dark, and now we're ready to get back in action.
And the fans are ready, the players are ready, and our Channel 96 staff has done an excellent job of getting us up to speed and getting us ready before the start. The game has restarted, and so we're all set and ready to go.
Harvey will be inbounding the ball. Coming onto the floor for the Raiders, number 25, Mick Rowan, number 20, Morgan Lewis, number 32, Julie Mangano, 54, Jeff Spikes, and 21, Andrew Booth. And for the Cougars, number 32, Mark Ursick, number 4, Brendan Bartel, number 12, Rick Stanzi, and number 1, Mike Staley. Lewis with the ball up top, kicks it over to Rowan on the wing. Teams were allowed some time to warm up coming back from their break.
Still must be very weird for the
Right,
players.
yeah, I imagine so. That was, longer than any halftime will ever be. Yeah. So it could definitely throw a kink in the momentum. Raiders had tremendous momentum going into the power outage. So it's looking like it might take something to get that back. They don't seem to have that right now.
Yeah, that's right. Obviously, for obvious reasons.
Right, yeah.
Like Catholic, meanwhile, looks like they had the energy that looked to be falling back, and they're all ready to go right now.
Bartel gets around Rowan and drops it in.
Score is now 25-16. Now 3 minutes to go in the second quarter, excuse me. And the ball just went out of bounds.
Off Lake Catholic, Harvey will have possession. Inbounding on the baseline. Rowan will inbound. Lewis with the ball up top. Into Spikes in the paint. Spikes turns. Fouled. Foul on the floor. And Rowan will inbound.
A foul goes on number 1. That's Mike Staley, his first of the night, team 4th. So both the Cougars and the Raiders have 4.
Rowan loops it into Spikes. Booth has the ball on the baseline, puts it up and in.
Good look right there by Spikes. Deep under the basket was Andrew Booth, but he made a good play and was able to convert for 2. So 27-16, 2:41 remains in the second quarter.
Staley with the ball up top. Now Bartel stepping inside in the paint, throws it up. No good. Followed up by Latkovic, and Latkovic puts it up and in. Morgan Lewis pushing the ball. Kicks it up to Booth. Booth over to Rowan, slips through Rowan's hands.
Good look right there. Looked like Mick Rowan and was in the wrong place for the pass right there, though. It just kind of went over his head. And Scott Aston is checking back into the game.
Ursick will inbound to Staley. Mangano playing defense the whole way down. Staley over to number 12, Rick Stanzi. Now Latkovic with the ball, back to Stanzi. Bartel fakes.
Under 2 minutes now, 1:55, still 27-18. And a nice layup right there. That pushes the score to 27-20 now.
It was number 12, Rick Stanzi.
That's his 6th point of the night. That's tied among several others for second place tonight.
And Spikes loses the ball out of bounds. So, completely different style of play right now for the Raiders. coming out of that break, it really sucked the wind out of them.
Yes, it did. Cougars, as they did in the end game, looking fresh and sharp and competing very well with the Raiders at this point.
Latkovic over to Staley. Staley fires for three. Short. Aston with the ball, pushing. Kicks it out to Spikes. Spikes back to Aston. Aston over to Mangano. Fires for three. No good. Followed up by Spikes and in.
29-20 now. 1:04 remains in the half.
Bartel with the ball on the wing. Taking it to the hole. Up. No good.
Not going to get it by Chris Crawford.
Right, yeah. Crawford got a piece of that one. Booth into Crawford. Crawford in the paint. Up. Good!
31-20 now. Back to the lead they had when the power went out. 35 seconds. Cougars maybe looking for the last shot. May speed it up. And it looks like they're going to take their time and be patient.
Down by 11. A three could put them within 8. Staley dribbling up top. Still not making any move. 17 seconds. Now Ersic.
Foul called on, I believe that'll be against Spikes. No foul is called. It was a clean block by Spikes. Stops the clock with 10.7 seconds. 31-20. Still in favor of your Raiders.
Ersic puts it up. No good. Rebounded by Crawford. 5 seconds left. Aston dribbling. 2. Shoots. No good. And at the end of the first half, your Red Raiders are on top 31-20. And the teams will make their way to the locker rooms once more, this time for a much shorter break, we hope, providing there aren't any more power outages. And we are at halftime.
So, in what will probably rank as the most bizarre game at this point in the season. There
Definitely.
Was, 45 minutes punctuated the first half, and so they had to come back out and play roughly 4 minutes. At the end, the Raiders are up 31-20, and both teams are playing pretty well. Raiders seem to be pretty well in control at this point.
Right, yep. We're going to take a break. I'm Tyler Krimiati.
And I'm Logan Repko.
We'll be right back.
And we're back with third quarter action, just in time to see things getting underway. It's 31-20. I'm Logan Repko.
And I'm Tyler Krimiati. And your Red Raiders are coming back from halftime with an 11-point, 31-20 lead. We had an interesting first half. There was a power outage here at Madison High School, and that delayed the game for about 45 minutes or so. So that definitely played a factor in the way the Raiders came back and played about the second half of their second quarter. But, you know, coming back from halftime now, we'll see if maybe this break couldn't turn things around again.
That's right. They still have a 9-point lead now. It's 31-22 with 7:48 on the clock, and there you see our cheerleaders, part of the people that really make this special for us. They come out every game and support us just like our fans.
Yeah, we have a great cheering section in our fans, but you know, it's really the cheerleaders who get them going. Staley coming up against Mangano. Dishes out to Bartel. And Crawford winds up with the ball.
Crawford showing he's a team player. You know, he didn't try and push that ball up. He just waited for his guard to come up there and get it, and that's what you need.
Smart play. And Crawford gets stripped underneath, but a foul called. And the Raiders will have the ball underneath the basket.
Just to continue with the point I was making, it's not that he can't dribble the ball. It's just, you know, you want your players who are supposed to handle the ball, handling the ball, and that's what Chris Crawford let happen.
Deep pass into Aston. Aston pump fake over to Mangano. Mangano, nice dish into Booth. Booth spins, fires, no good. Rebounded by Latkovic.
So Booth is going to that fadeaway jumper that we haven't seen a lot this season. He's used it a couple times this game.
Ersic dished over to number 12, Rick Stanzi.
31-22 in favor of your Raiders. 6:47 remains on the clock in the third quarter.
Lewis's pass picked off by the Cougars. Bartel pushing. Staley with the ball up top. Into Latkovic, who fires. No good. Rebounded by Lewis. And Lewis down into Crawford. Crawford up to Aston. Over to Mangano. Mangano trigger. Good!
And that'll put Mangano with 11 points tonight. He is the game leader thus far.
You know, our faithful statistician up here, my kid brother Casey Camiotti, he was watching the team as they were warming up after halftime, and he pointed out that Mangano went 15 shots in a row without missing a single shot. So, you know, he was hot in the first half. He drained 2 threes in succession, and right here he's keeping that up.
It's exciting when players get like that. Meanwhile, Scott Aston was fouling the floor. He'll have a chance to get on the board for the night, and he does. It's his first point of the night. I'm sure when we check the stats, we'll find that he's had several assists. He sometimes comes up with like 5 points and like 15 assists, just gaudy numbers.
Yeah. Stanzi.
Under 6 minutes now, 5:57. Raiders on top 35-24. Still have that 11-point lead that they had when the lights went out in the second quarter.
Right. Staley triggers for 3. And he's been hot all this evening. Not changing anything there. Ball picked off by number 4, Brendan Bartel, who puts it up in and off the glass. Raiders lead cut down to 8, 35-27. 5:35 left in the third.
Correction, that is 35-29.
I'm sorry.
And so now time to stop as the ball just went out of bounds. Quick 5-point swing in the score. Raiders up by 6 now. And they'll have the possession.
Lewis will inbound from the sideline. Right in front of his own bench. Deep pass over to Crawford. Crawford bodied up on Stanzi over to Lewis. Lewis trigger for 3. Good!
Stone cold. Just hits a 3.
Stone cold.
He has 6 points. Morgan Lewis has 6 points tonight. Raiders are back on top by 9, 38-29. 5:06 remains in the third quarter.
Kevin Spittler passes up to Stanzi. Over to Latkovic. Latkovic pump fake. Back to Stanzi. Bartel into Stanzi, I believe. And ball's put up and in by number 12, Rick Stanzi.
Booth making a really inexcusable error right there. Inbounding the ball, just stepped over the line with no one even defending. And so the Cougars will get the ball. It might have just slipped out of his hands or whatever, but
So you hate to see that happen as the Cougars are rapidly gaining momentum.
38-33. They've just cut the lead to 5, and it's 4 minutes and 32 seconds now remaining.
Booth over to Crawford. Over to Lewis. Mangano trigger. Good! Mangano absolutely on fire.
Yeah, he's picked a good time to be hot.
He's got 4 threes on the night, if you can believe that.
14 points tonight, so he's having another big game like he had against, I believe that was North, that he scored 20 points.
Yeah, he led the team in scoring against North. And big block by Crawford. Spittler.
And a timeout
Timeout called by Spittler before he goes out of bounds.
That's a fairly canny play. I can admire that.
Yeah.
So stops the clock with 3:47, 41-33. And while we have a chance, why don't we take a look at our sponsors?
First, we have Mike Rowan Concrete,
Fisher Building and Interiors,
the Latin Corner,
Painesville Publishing,
Child Care on the Square,
Kiters Flooring and Construction,
Palutro Insurance,
and Scores Fun Center and Lasertron.
And finally, we have Silvestro's Depot Cafe. For great food, make it Silvestro's. You know, Logan, the last time the clock was stopped with 3:47, as it is now, It was stopped for 45 minutes with that power outage.
That is eerie.
That's a little creepy.
That is, and I don't know what's going to happen. I'm feeling a little bit of static in the air there, Tyler.
Let's get this play back underway before the power goes out again.
That's right.
Lake Catholic will have possession. Latkovic inbounds to Staley. Staley on the other side of half court. Now crosses the timeline. That gives off to Bartel. Bartel stepping inside. Dishes over to Staley. Staley and Mangano. Into Stanzi, who fires from the lane.
So it's 41-35. They're seesawing between about a 6 and a 9 point lead. Right now, the Raiders are. It's 3:20 now remains in the third period.
Mangano fires from just inside the three-point line, rebounded by Bartel. So tonight for the Cougars, it's really been Staley and Stanzi putting up the big points. Staley's been hot from three land, and Stanzi's just getting a lot of points, cleaning them up underneath the boards. They've got 12 and 11 points respectively.
Very similar to the output by Mangano and Crawford.
Right.
Mangano has 14 and Crawford has 8. Booth having no problems with the inbound there. Don't want to treat that too lightly on the inbound, but I don't know. Coach has probably talked to him about that, and it's over with now.
Mangano, no good. Rebounded by Spikes.
Could have been called for an up and down, but
yeah, I'm not sure. His 1 foot left the ground. And there's a cleanup by Mangano for another 2.
16 points now for Mangano to put the Raiders up by 8, 43-35.
Whistle blown, foul called on Jeff Spikes.
There you see a mass of humanity on your screen, but meanwhile, on the court, Raiders were out of position, and that resulted in a foul, on Spikes.
Right.
Stops the clock at 2:31.
Kevin Spittler is at the line.
First foul of the night for Spikes right there, team second.
There you see our coach, Tim Starkey, talking with assistant coach Todd Hartman. Spittler's first is good. Spittler's second.
And just like most of the other foul shots for the Cougars, it's good. They're hitting those free throws.
Doing very well from the charity stripe tonight. Crawford spins and just drops it in.
Wow, pulling out the Olajuwon.
Yeah.
Or if you want to go back further, like Abdul-Jabbar. That was a nice hook shot right there. You can't find any flaw with that.
Latkovic shot no good. Lewis dishing over to Crawford. And Lewis's pass lost. Recovered by Spittler of the Cougars. And now Staley has the ball. Up top to Bartel. Bartel pump fake. Fires, and he draws the foul.
And that's been a predominant strategy for the Cougars tonight. They've been doing a lot of pump fakes, getting the Raiders off their feet.
Yep.
And they have been drawing the fouls. That is Lewis's third.
Right.
He's done pretty well not to get a foul for a lot of the game after those quick 2.
Right, yeah, he had a very quick 2 in the first quarter. Bartel hits his first.
45-38 for your Red Raiders. Minute 52 remains in the third quarter.
And his second. He was shooting a 3, so he'll get one more. And he shot 100% in that series.
5-point now lead for the Raiders, 45-40.
Lewis with the ball up top. Over to Booth on the wing. Booth into Crawford. Crawford over to Spikes. Spikes up in the paint. No good. And Lewis up. No good. Crawford is finally there to put up the cleanup and drain it.
And sometimes you're just bigger than the competition. Those
Yeah.
three guys just stood around, grabbed offensive rebounds, did a nice job of blocking out, and finally got the 2 points.
Spittler for three. Good.
Minute 9 now. The Raiders have a 4-point lead. The Cougars are chipping away. 47-43 is the score at this point.
And foul called.
And go against number 22, Anthony Clement. It's his third of the night. Stops the clock with 1 minute exactly. Team third for the Cougars.
Actually, that was number 23, Steve Latkovic.
I'm sorry, you're right.
Now checking in for the Cougars is number 30, Nick Spahar. Spahar saw a considerable amount of time in the team's first matchup early in the season, but tonight he's seen some floor time, but not nearly as much as he saw previously. And Mangano, nice move through the lane.
Mangano is just lighting it up tonight, really coming through for the Raiders. 18 points as he keeps the Raiders on top by 6.
Spittler up top to Bartel. Bartel dribbling around. You know, it's hard to get around Morgan Lewis. His wingspan is, I'd guess it's at least as tall as he is. And he's standing at about 6'2". So, I mean, while there are bigger players on the floor, the way Lewis uses his wingspan on defense, it's an incredible task to get around him.
That's right. Meanwhile, 3 seconds to go, and the last shot.
No good. That ends the third quarter. Your Red Raiders on top by 6, 49-43.
So this game is coming up very close. The Cougars looking like, they wanted to win. They wanted to face the Raiders, and by all means, they are playing well.
Yeah, I mean, and when you look at it, it's really, if you're going in with the mindset that you can take the Raiders, it's not a bad choice to take them in the first round. Then you knock them out, and you eliminate the team who several sources have picked to win this tournament. You eliminate them, and then you're thinking that the rest of the tournament's going to be smooth sailing. But obviously the big task is knocking off that team. Man.
Yeah, obviously as the underdogs, why wait to face them?
Right.
If you're going to beat them, they go now. I like the Cougars' attitude. Raiders still looking in control, looking like they're going to win, and let's hope they can continue that though. Oh, but you got to admire the Cougars, who came in here upset-minded and are playing very well at this point.
They really are. They're scrapping for every ball, and they're playing their hearts out, leaving every game. Once you're in tournaments, every game is the last game. So you leave it all on the floor. You take nothing off.
And meanwhile, the fans don't want this to end. They have a lot more ball to watch, and they want their team to go all the way. So let's hope that the Red Raiders can pull this out and take it all the way.
And a foul is called on number 32, Mark Ursick.
That's
bodied up on Lewis.
Yeah, his second foul of the night. 4th team for the Cougars.
Lewis over to Aston. Aston with the ball up back to Lewis. Now Mangano up top. Ursick pulled out to face Mangano. Hands off to Aston from the free throw line to Morgan Lewis with the two-hand jam, cutting baseline.
Good look by Scott Aston right there. Nice knowing what the other player was going to do right there, and comes out well for the Raiders. 51-43 now. 7 minutes and 27 seconds remain in the game.
Latkovic fires for three. No good. Rebounded by Lewis. So that was the first dunk we've seen out of the Raiders this evening. Spikes puts the ball up off the glass and in. And Mike Staley off to Bartel. Bartel dribbling up top of the horn. Latkovic. And now Bartel. Bartel stepping inside up against Spikes. Looking to pass off to Staley. Staley finally gets to it. Staley from the paint. No good. Mangano Dish into Spikes. Spikes spins, glass, basket!
That's a 12-point lead for your Raiders. Now 55-43, and a timeout is called. The Cougars need to regroup, and the fans know it. They're doing really well right now.
Cheers erupting. You see right now everybody on their feet. Nobody's sitting down, especially in our cheering section. Going right along with the cheerleaders, getting into it. It's great to see. Yeah. Meanwhile, the Lake Catholic side, everyone's sitting down. The Cougar Crazies, as they're called.
While we have a chance, why don't we take a look at our sponsors?
First, we have Micro and Concrete.
Fisher Building and Interiors.
The Latin Corner.
Painesville Publishing.
Child Care on the Square.
Kiters Flooring and Construction.
Palutro Insurance.
Scores Fun Center and Lasertron.
And last, we have Silvestro's Depot Cafe. For great food, make it Silvestro's.
So the Raiders still on top by 12. And Cougars really getting down at this point, but they're not out of it yet. They still have a chance. They've looked good the whole game. I wouldn't expect to see them give up now. 6:28 on the clock.
Latkovic inbounds to Staley. Latkovic over to Ursic. Ursic dumping into Stanzi. Stanzi baseline. Staley for three. No good. Rebound by Spikes. Morgan Lewis pulls the ball out. Has the ball on the wing. Just into Spikes. Spikes out to Booth. Booth gives out to Lewis.
Raiders setting up a play. Getting hounded on defense, though.
Yeah, great man-to-man from the Cougars right now.
A little bit aggressive. A lot of hands going right there, but the refs are letting them play. And finally a foul is called on the floor. It's number 32, Nick Ursic. That's his third of the night and fifth of the half for the Cougars.
Lewis inbounds to Booth. Lewis to Booth again. Booth to Spikes. Spikes to Glass. Glass to basket. There you see Claire Crawford, Chris's sister, and Chelsea Graham, and Janet Soto Rodriguez. Three very spirited members of the cheering section.
That's right. They innovated the HHS shirts that they wore to several games.
That's right.
Along with Abby Miller, who we don't see in that picture. Part of the fans that really help this team, get its momentum and keep going.
Spikes hit his free throw.
Puts the Raiders up by an even 15, 58-43. And Spikes is having what seems to be usual in these big games, a big night.
Yeah.
13 points tonight for Spikes.
Yeah. In just these 2.5 minutes, the Raiders have increased their 6-point lead to 15. So a fire's been lit under the tails of the Red Raiders, and they're using it and capitalizing. Staley hits the inside jumper. Long pass down to Lewis. Lewis just inside, pulls it out. Dish into Spikes. Spikes into the lane. Up to the glass. Glass to the basket.
60-45 now. Still 15-point lead. 4:58 remains in the game.
Staley over to Spittler. Back to Staley. And that's number 30, Nick Spahar. Lewis with the ball in the wing, dumps into Spikes. Spikes kicks it out to Booth. Booth from deep. No good. And foul called on Spikes. Spikes second of the night, team fourth.
And boos are bouncing out of every corner of the gymnasium. The fans didn't like that one.
No.
I can't really say I was too pleased with it either, but Spikes will be checking out of the game to tumultuous applause. Everyone really cheering for that. And the Raiders are still on top 60-47.
Staley spins in the paint. And Stanzi.
So Cougars not giving up. They keep shooting. I like their fight, their drive.
Raiders up by 11, 60-49. And Lewis could have had a nice move there baseline.
Yeah, I think he kind of overestimated his angle.
Long pass down court by the Cougars goes out of bounds. Harvey's possession. There is another game scheduled for tonight after this game between the Jefferson Falcons and Chagrin Falls. I'm not sure whether or not they'll still play that game because of the 45-minute delay that we had in the first half of this game.
It could have an impact on the scheduling down the road and so forth, but should they be able to straighten that out?
Yeah.
60 to 49 meanwhile. Spikes. Huge. Draws a foul. Wow, that was impressive. He'll be shooting 1-1. Just 3 or 4 guys just tumbling all over him. He looked like he was playing rugby right there. And foul is called against number 30. That's Nick Spahar. That's his second of the night. 7th for the Cougars.
Spikes is at the line shooting a 1-1. 17 fouls for the Cougars. And Spikes hits his first, so he's got one more coming.
Point number 16 for Spikes. Big night for him. Right behind Julian Mangano, the game leader with 18 points.
And Spike's second air, good. Here's our cheering section, and Staley steps inside, dishes off to Bartel. Bartel kicks it out to Stanzi. Picked off by Crawford, and Crawford! And there's an intentional foul by Rick Stanzi as Crawford is fouled hard. And Crawford went flying to the ground and wound up hitting the stage area, which is located behind the basket.
Yeah, that was a flagrant, ugly foul. Chris Crawford, they saw he was going up for the dunk, and he just hacked him hard. Yeah. No call for that whatsoever. That might even be grounds for ejection. The refs are certainly talking to the coach. That was an ugly, ugly foul.
Yep. Stanzi and Crawford have been battling between down low all night.
Meanwhile, it was a great steal by Chris Crawford.
It really was.
Out of nowhere.
And I admire that he realized while we were talking about earlier tonight, how Crawford, he realizes that he's not, generally the one to take the guard position and push the ball up court. That time, he realized where he was in position on the floor, and he saw his opportunity to take it to the hole. I admire that.
That's right. He looked around and he didn't see anybody in front of him, and then he took off.
Right.
Good job right there by Crawford. Morgan Lewis coming in for Chris Crawford. Just giving him a break. I don't know if they want to make sure he's all right. Doesn't look like it. They just want to give him a break. I might have left him in there though, just to let him keep the feel of the game though.
Yep. And the refs ruling that Lewis was not fully back in bounds before he received that pass.
So after Crawford misses both, it's still 62-49. 3 minutes and 30 seconds remain in the fourth quarter.
And that was number 30, Nick Spahar. Shot no good. Scott Aston facing Staley. Booth over to Spikes. Spikes inside the three-point line. Booth stepping inside into the paint. Kicks off to Mangano. Mangano from the paint. No good. And Spikes is getting hit with the over the back.
Coach Starkey getting very involved in this game. Far more than he usually does. Telling Jeff Spikes, use your head.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the Raiders had a good offensive possession, ran off a lot of time on the clock. 2 minutes and 57 seconds now. They're still up by 13. They're in really good position at this point.
Yeah. Under 3 minutes, up by 13. Anything we've said before, anything can change in the end of ball games. But this is good position.
Out of bounds on the Raiders. So with 2:45, Cougars will have the ball down 49-62.
And blocked by Booth. Morgan Lewis. And there's another intentional foul called. And Lake Catholic coach Ted Kwasniak not happy with that.
And just off your screen, you'll see, you see all the fans just kind of looking on. That one wasn't quite as blatant as the one calling Chris Crawford, but another team, not a technical, I'm sorry, an intentional foul called. So Morgan Lewis will be shooting 2.
Lewis's first, no good. That's something that we've been seeing more and more this season, is when the Raiders have the ball on the breakaway, they know what we're capable of. It's been in the paper, pictures all over the newspapers of us just dunking, and many opposing players getting posterized. And teams don't want that to happen, so they're going to do whatever it takes, and they're going to get hit with the intentional fouls.
It's not something that you admire as a player, but it's kind of like when you're afraid of getting hit by a pitch.
Morgan Lewis retaliates and slams it home with the two-hand jam.
Yeah, great play by Lewis right there. He came home with the dunk anyway. But as I was saying, it's almost like a reflexive reaction. When you're afraid of the ball in baseball, you don't want to get hit. You just kind of tend to shy away. It's almost the same thing in basketball. You don't want to get posterized.
And a whistle blown. Timeout called. Time stopped. Yeah, Red Raiders on top, 65-49.
And right at this point, they're just doing really well. They pretty much have the game under control.
Yep.
While we have a chance, why don't we take? I'm going to look at our sponsors.
First, we have Mike Rowan Concrete,
Fisher Building and Interiors,
the Latin Corner,
Painesville Publishing,
the Child Care on the Square,
Titers Flooring and Construction,
Coluccio Insurance,
Scores Fun Center and Lasertron,
and Silvestro's Depot Cafe. You hear us laughing, you hear cheers erupting as Harvey's Rick Murniak takes the floor and does his own flips to answer the Lake Catholic Cougars cheerleaders' flips.
That's right.
Murniak certainly more acrobatic than the cheerleader.
Yeah, while we're going through a sponsor, sometimes you see a little halftime and the cheerleader comes out and does a flip. Rick Murniak comes out and does several acrobatic flips.
Yeah, those weren't even, he was flying through the air.
I'm not sure if he was asked to do that by the cheerleaders or what, but it certainly drew a lot of cheers from the crowd. Might be reprimanded for that, I'm not sure. We'll see what happens.
And blocked by Crawford.
.207 now, 65-49 for your Raiders.
Whistle blown, timeout called on the Raiders bench. Full timeout called.
So nothing really happened right there. Just a couple
Yep.
seconds ran off the clock. Still the same score. Still the same story.
Yeah, Raiders, really this fourth quarter has been phenomenal for the Raiders. Totally different story than the whole entire rest of the game. As they were, they'd been kind of lethargic and nothing too impressive. And finally, with this fourth quarter, they're putting the game away.
That's right, and they kind of have resumed that calm that they so often get when the game is in control. For a long time, they were just scrapping and struggling, like the Cougars, but they're in control right now and looking to go home with a victory and continue on their way towards the state. This is the first step for them. They got a lot of games to go, but
yeah,
high hopes this season, really.
Yeah, they really do. I think everybody in Painesville really does. This team has really brought the community together. Right? They're not only does it build school pride, but community pride, and it's putting positive image out there for Harvey High School. Offensive foul called on Jeff Spikes. His fourth of the night.
Yeah. 2:02 remains on the clock. The Cougars looking to conserve every second, and that's not such a bad strategy at this point. They're down by 16.
Staley triggers for three. Connects.
It's good. 13-point deficit now, 65 to 52. Full court pressure, as you would expect.
Booth taking it the length of the floor. Kicks it out to Lewis. Lewis up top to Aston. Over to Mangano. Excuse me, Mangano. Mangano up to Aston.
Raiders taking their time and managing to draw a lot of time off the clock.
Foul called on Staley.
And that's double penalty now for the Cougars. The Raiders get to shoot two automatically. That's the fourth of the night on Staley.
Aston shot up. No good. Aston second.
And it's good. Chris Crawford will check back in the game for Scott Aston. Raiders have a huge team on the floor when they go with this setup. Jeff Spikes, Andrew Booth, Morgan Lewis, Julian Mangano, and Chris Crawford. There's not a team in the area that can match up size-wise with that.
Staley over to Spittler. Stanzi with the ball just inside the three-point line. Dribbling into the key. And draws the foul.
That'll go against Chris Crawford. That's his, that's his first of the night.
Crawford doing very well foul-wise.
Chris Crawford has come a long way since his sophomore year. He was a big contributor sophomore year.
Right.
Gets in a lot less foul trouble. Of course, that helps when you have a better team around you, too. Not as much pressure down low for him. But he does a really good job.
Yeah, he really does. And I think my question has been answered about the next game to be played here tonight. I think they will still be having that game, as I just saw the Jefferson head coach coming across the stage with two basketballs. So looks like they're ready for warm-ups.
And assuming that things continue as they are, the Red Raiders will play Conneaut in the next round and in the semifinals. Now under a minute, Red Raiders on top 66 to 53.
A draw of Conneaut in the second round, you know, that's no sweat off the Raiders' back. They've absolutely obliterated the Spartans both times they've played them this year.
That's right.
Latkovic into Spittler. Spittler for three. No good. Rebound by Aston. And whistle blown. Foul called. Aston will be at the line.
So the Cougars are deciding to not go away easy. They just keep pushing it and pushing it. It looks like they may, decide to keep fouling and keep staying in the game. And you can't really argue that.
No.
They're down by 13, but they still want to win.
Make that 14.
Meanwhile, Scott Aston, knife's already in. He's just twisting it in around some more. Red Raiders are up 67 to 53. 48.3 seconds remain.
And Aston's second free throw, no good. Another foul called. Spikes will be shooting two this time. Foul on number 23, Steve Latkovic.
That's his fourth of the night.
Time is ticked down to 45.9 seconds left in the ball game. Spikes first, no good. And his second connects.
So that's his 18th point of the night, tied with Julian Mangano for the game and team lead.
And Rick Stanzi hits the inside two.
I'm not sure what the indication was down in the corner. Okay, it will be out of bounds on Scott Aston. Stops the clock at 35.6. The Raiders still up by 13, 68-55.
Bartel taking the ball to the hole, no good. Bartel again. This time he hits it. And again, the ball's going Lake Catholic's way.
And if the game were closer, you could say the Raiders are being sloppy. Well, they are being sloppy, inbounding the ball. I don't think they really care as much. The coaches will probably chastise them, but it's not such a big deal at this point.
Booth to Aston. Now 10 seconds left here in the ball game. Aston up to Mangano. And 2-1 ball game. Mission accomplished for the first round of the tournament as your Harvey Red Raiders come away with a 68-57 victory over the Lake Catholic Cougars.
Big scores of the night, of course. Jeff Spikes and Julian Mangano both had 18 points. Chris Crawford with 12. Just a big game for the Red Raiders. It was an early test for them, and they passed with flying colors. We look forward to Conneaut and beyond.
Right. The next game for the Red Raiders will be this Saturday right here at Madison. I believe that's Saturday evening. And they will play, as Logan said, the Conneaut Spartans. So, that's looking to be another promising game. Tonight, the Cougars made it a lot closer than I think many people anticipated.
While we have a chance, why don't we take one last look at our sponsors?
First, we have Mike Rowan Concrete, 413-7513.
Fisher Building and Interiors, 350-3882.
The Latin Corner, 354-9081.
Painesville Publishing, 354-4142.
Child Care on the Square, 357-0349.
Kiters Flooring and Construction, 478-5550.
Palutro Insurance, 161 North State Street.
Scores Fun Center and Lasertron, 354-2000.
And finally, we have Silvestro's Depot Cafe, 354-3851. For great food, make it Silvestro's. Satisfying night for the Red Raiders tonight as they beat the Lake Catholic Cougars. Final score, 68-57. We ask that you would please come out and support your Red Raiders Saturday night as they take on the Conneaut Spartans. From Madison High School, I'm Tyler Camiotti.
And I'm Logan Repko.
Stay tuned in. Thanks for watching.